All right, we got a bunch of people. Winnie, are you in here? Because we can look at KMD Edge to know if you are in the stream. All right, told everybody just to use crypto chat since basic members are in here too. Just move to basic, and then everybody can pose questions. I'm gonna go back. Ugh. Now that I'm back to like a full schedule, I'll maintain a regular schedule of streams with premium only. But this one, since I haven't done a stream in so long, and I've been, you know, mostly out of the market lately, barely trading, I figured I would invite basic members and stuff. But yeah, everybody will go back to normal when on the next one. Which I don't know, probably do 3 or 4 a week like I used to do. I'm trying to get back to a normal thing now. The babies are sleeping a little better. They're a little easier to manage, so that'll be good. All right, I don't know where Winnie is, but he wanted to look at KMD, so we were going to take a look at it, but I'll come back to that. So I want to run through open trades. Hopefully you guys got in. I told you I increased my position. I bought substantially more. As soon as we started bouncing off of the top of the cloud here, I had a pretty strong opinion that so we would have like this should be a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to have wave 5. Or this could even be a subwave correction, but it looks a little deeper. Anyway, when I saw it bounce off the top of the cloud right on the Ichima support, one of our Ichima dynamics, the top of the Ichimoku cloud, I had a feeling that was going to be an ideal entry. Now, it could still come down and correct further, all the way down to the 222, if that's very possible. But for right now, I'm going to put my stop loss. I'm moving it right to where I entered here. So essentially, it's risk-free. My new entry is risk-free. My original entry is still partially there. So for those who weren't paying attention before, I had 17% profit locked in here for 60% of my position. So 60 out of 100 coins were set to sell if we dip down here, so then we did. Then I was able to buy back with all that capital at a lower price. So it's almost like I shorted for a 2.5% gain, right? So when I talk about my past strategy, personal asset short selling, that's what I'm saying. It's fine to speculate that we're going to correct and go down. You can profit from that speculation if you own that coin without having to go in short, which is obviously risky, especially trading on margin gets really risky, especially with leverage. So my past strategy, for those who haven't heard me talk about it before, are where I sold right here, knowing that if we broke here, we would go back down further. Then I was able to buy back in at a lower price. So say I sold here and I get $1,000 out of the market. Then when I put that $1,000 back in at a lower price, I'm buying extra coins. Or if I only had 100 coins right here, and then they sold and I got $1,000, I could keep, you know, uh, a couple $100, and then I only have to spend 800 to get back to 100 tokens, right? So it's the same thing as shorting. It's sold here and I bought back cheaper. So that's what I call my personal asset short selling. It's not literally shorting, but it's mimicking the benefits of shorting without any of the risk associated with it. You know, none of the risks, none of the downside, but all the upside where you're selling at one price and buying back at a lower price. That's exactly what shorting is, and that's what I replicate by this practice. So 60% of my entire position in Matic, say I have $10,000 worth, and at the time, say it was worth $1. So say like, you know, I got 6 grand right here. I was able to put it back in at a lower price, and I have extra money left over, and then I still have 40% of my position with a lower stop loss all the way down here. I gave it more room so that wouldn't get stopped out. And if this stopped me out and I didn't have a way to get back in, at least I still have a nice chunk of change in the trade. That's why I had my 2 stop losses. So now I'm back in. I increased my position again right here when I told you guys about it in the short-term plays channel, and now I'm at break even risk wise because I set my stop loss at my entry. But now if I were to sell, I would make another 6.3% profit. So I made 2.5% profit on this little short, and then I made another 6.4% profit on the move back up. I think it's going to keep going up. So I'm actually going to hold this position open. I'm not going to sell here and take my little profits, even though the profits are substantial at 10% or 8% overall. I'm going to hold it because I think we have a lot of potential here. as I mentioned, when I got in down at this point, when I said we have a lot of support from the Ichima dynamics, right? So there's the 55 and the 99 EMA are holding really well. You could actually see all of our settings here. But the 99 EMA was holding really well ever since this candle. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row that bounced right off. Plus we had a prior horizontal support right here. So we had some confluence where we had multiple different support types. The Ichima dynamic support with the 99 EMA and the horizontal support here based on prior price action. So that was the ideal place to enter. I entered right there exactly at the bottom of this subcorrection, and I caught that pump like a champ. It was a really, really great entry, and I'm particularly proud of it because as this trade's progressed, I've made additional, really great pinpoint trades like getting in right here at the bottom again. So I have a high level of confidence in Matic overall. I've kind of been on point with my Matic analysis, and when I have an analysis on one particular coin that's just that accurate time and time again, I tend to obsess over that coin. So I'm all about Matic right now. It's making me all types of gains. I'm very happy with it. See what happens. If you're in right now, just in case you weren't sure, I still have a stop loss all the way down here, only locking in 8.5%. My other stop loss is right here, which is my newer entry. I had already gotten stopped out for 17% profit, and then I bought back in lower. So that's where we are on Matic. I'm going to see what happens here, and I'm going to move both of my stop losses up as we push up higher. Once we break this resistance up here at 1790 or so, that's going to be a really strong sign. We broke through it a couple times before, but never really held above it. We always came back down. If we could break through and push up higher, I think we pretty much go all the way up to the upper ends of my original target. We can finish off a 30-40% run here. So in any case, that's where I am with Matic right now. Now Algo, I don't have a chart that actually has all the good stuff, but I did move my stop loss up here, and I got stopped out on this couple little wicks. Now this was a stupid decision on my part. I was really quick. We were all the way up here, so I was trying to move it up to lock in as much profit as I could, and I got too aggressive. If you're looking right here, you can see ideal stop loss for now. This was so stupid on my part. I should have put it below the top of the cloud and below the 99 EMA, so I had all that Ichima support. Because look how well we know that my Ichima model works really well. I'm sure you guys would agree, right? We've been doing this for over a year now. The 55 and 99 EMA is the 222 EMA, the top and the bottom of the cloud, and right here we had confluence between the 99 EMA and the top of the cloud. So two of our Ichima supports were right there, and I stupidly put my stop loss above them. So I got stopped out. I'm considering getting back in because that would be a great time for it to bounce right off those Ichima supports. If it does continue correcting and come back down, I'll probably buy in towards the bottom of the cloud. And that would be a great example of that past strategy, right? Since I got stopped out right here, if I'm able to buy back at the bottom of the cloud here, I would essentially be making a 4.3% profit because I sold up here at 795 and I'd be buying back at 760, meaning my profit is 4.3%, just like I did on Matic. But we'll see if it comes back down. But yeah, that was a dumb decision. Plus, if you look over here, you could see this actually is a support and resistance already. Not only do we have all the Ichima support here, but look how hard we got rejected at that level right there. And then we got a lot of support here besides a couple wicks. A lot of resistance here besides a tiny wick poking through. The only time that line has really broken was in this section right here. Besides that, it's been a really strong support and resistance. So to place my stop loss there right on it was just a stupid decision. I should have just left it right down here below the top of the cloud and below the 99 EMA, and I would have still been in this trade. But I did make a nice profit, obviously. I made, I don't know, on this one, 9%. I was up a lot at one point, so it sucks that I only made 9% on that lower entry. But it is what it is. So I might get back into Algo. I'm still really bullish on it. I think the rest, this might actually complete. I think I did a chart. What I was doing was I was planning on getting in back here. I just don't think... Why didn't I pull the trigger on it? I was like halfway there. I started doing this count, and then I was going to show you guys that this would be a perfect subwave correction and a good time to get enter, and then I don't think I actually posted it. So sorry about that, but I didn't get in either, obviously. So we'll see what happens here. If it pushes up, I'll probably buy in at a higher price, and that would just suck. I got stopped out here, and I'd be buying in here, which is shitty. But at least I'd be able to get that next leg up because I think Algo has a lot more room to run. I think it can push all the way up to this 1618 extension at about 92 cents. So when we do finally, maybe if we get back above the 55 EMA here to like 820, I might enter right there, and that way I can ride it up for the final 12.5% of this run, because I really think there's a lot of power here. It can actually push up into the dollar and change range, but this 1618 extension really would be a perfect wave 3 target if that's what we see. We'll see what happens. Quantum, I got a new entry in Quantum right here. It is coming down. It's now testing the 55 EMA, so I'm getting a little nervous, but the 55 EMA very well may hold. The only thing that sucks about this, maybe I should, yeah, you know what? I might take some additional risk, because I'm already in Quantum, so we got in last night down here, and then it pretty much broke up right after. That was a really great timed entry as well. I only have 2.5% profit locked in, so I don't have very much profit locked in. But what I'm looking at here is the way I had my stop loss before was only risking like 2%. We're getting pretty close to there. I would like to see it could potentially come back down, test the bottom of the cloud and the horizontal support at 270 right here, the yellow line. So if I extend my risk a little lower, closer to 3%, and I move my stop loss right above for this recent entry, right above where my other stop loss is for my original entry, which is at 267.7. If I place my stop loss at like 268.7 right up here, just a cent higher for this latest entry, then if we come back down here, I'll take a little bit of a loss here, but I'll be making 2.5% here, so I'll be pretty close to breaking even. I'll end up with like a $40 loss or something. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to adjust my stop loss, so stand by. I'm going to move my stop loss on my more recent Quantum entry. I'm going to move that to like 2.687 plus or minus a little bit. That's not going to be my exact stop loss. As you guys probably know, I don't share the exact stop loss that I use, just very close. Anyway, so let me do that. I'm going to adjust my SL, and then we'll proceed. One sec. Oh, I left this gay porn site up. Big black dicks. All right, let me go back to Quantum tab. Wunderbar, yeah. All right, yeah, we're good. All right, so I'm taking a little bit of an expanded risk than what I originally thought on this entry. But based on what we've been seeing with a lot of these different trades have had such strong Ichima support and resistance. I mean, look at this, right? We were getting rejected just shy of 55 here. We didn't quite get rejected at the 55, but it was pretty close, right? Then we tested the 55 again, a tiny wick above, but besides that, a couple candles in a row, really strong rejection. We finally pushed through the 55 EMA, but then we're riding right along it. Then we push up. Look where we get resistance. We get rejected at the 99 EMA until the next candle starts. Then we finally push up above the 99, get rejected at this resistance, start another candle at this resistance, then get rejected at the 222, 2 candles in a row, exactly at the 222. Then it found more support at my 278 minor support. It got a tiny bit of support at the 99, and now it's holding right at the 55 EMA. So if you guys caught what I just did, I had all this on the chart, not the Elliott wave count, but 2 days ago, I had all these supports and resistance levels on this chart. So just to show you how well my model works, look how the Ichima dynamics worked, right? A lot of resistance right around the 55, some resistance at the 55, some support right at the 55, resistance at the 99, support at the 99, resistance at this support, resistance, support right here again, and then pushed up, more resistance at the 222. Other than the top and the bottom of the cloud, and again, right here, we actually are getting a lot of resistance at the bottom of the cloud. You could see that. So it's kind of wedged between the 55 EMA and the bottom of the cloud. So right there, again, essentially every support, every principle that we do, the way I trade and the way that I have taught you guys to trade, is just, this is perfect, right? Like every single support and resistance that I had noted on this chart did its job and showed, I mean, even right here, we broke through this minor support and resistance at 270, the yellow line, and all these candles in a row sitting right on top of it, getting strong support before it came back down. And when it did come down, where did it find support on the bottom? At one of our other supports. I think this one actually I added after these couple candles. I think I added this yellow line, that support, once I saw that we made a little double bottom right here and then again right here. But all the other ones have been on this chart for days and days, since way back in some cases, back when the price was down here a while back. So that's where we stand on quantum. Still have this open trade, but my original trade is still open. If we come all the way down here, I'll get stopped out on both. But right now, I'm still confident on this trade. I like it a lot. Even though the volume's low, everything else I thought that was going to happen with it came true. So I'm hoping we can sustain at least this level of volume. And then we should be able to get the price action we need. Now, one is another tough situation where, if you guys remember, I shared this the other night. We had these two candles in a row. Right after this candle started going back up, I placed this order and I said, this is it. As soon as we dip back down and hit this level again, I want my orders to fill. We never came back down after that. This candle went up, it held, and then we've been going up ever since. So I just missed this entry on one. If you guys remember me talking about it, I was specifically waiting for one more candle or one more time in this candle to push back down, and I just missed it. So that kind of sucks. I missed out. Now, it's obviously too late to get in now. It pushed up 25%, had a nice correction, but I wanted to show you this. I wasn't looking at this chart a couple hours ago, but look at the bottom of the cloud, and look at our Ichima dynamics right here. The 99, the 55, and the 222 are all in one place. They served as a strong resistance, and then on this hourly candle, or sorry, a strong support on this hourly candle, strong resistance on these two, and then it finally pushed up above it and used this, again, our Ichima dynamics for support on this hourly candle. Now, when it did finally dip down, where did we get our next support? Right at the bottom of the cloud. That's my Ichima model right there. The three EMAs doing their job, the bottom of the cloud doing its job. It's amazing how on point it's been lately, and I'm getting a lot of confidence in a lot of these trades. I just happened to miss out on this one. But I want you to look at this. We went down for so long on one. Given the volume injection that we saw, how much it pumped, and how we didn't actually see a lot of sell volume after it pumped. There was obviously a big profit taking, but if it was a legit straight up pump, we would have seen it retrace pretty much to the beginning of the pump. We see that all the time, right? It goes all the way up. It's happened on Knowles to me a lot, where I'll be bragging on Twitter, guys, look at this sick call. It went up 12% right after I called it. Then it goes down 15%. That obviously didn't happen here. It sustained the entire time. It wasn't until after we went up a full 25% that we started seeing more additional sell-offs. And even when that happened, we didn't see a ton of sell volume. It was a little high. It was obviously much higher than it was over here. But it wasn't like these huge green bars where the volume was predominantly buy orders. We're not really seeing that. So I have a feeling this is going to be sustainable. This was just a major retrace. From the bottom of this run all the way to the top, it retraced pretty goddamn far, all the way back down to 992. I wish I bought in down there, but instead I tried to go for it here, and then I missed out. After all of these candles bounced right off of this level, right at my entry at 1018, right when I needed it, I didn't get it. So in any case, looking at this from just an overall rough Elliott wave count, if this really is a sustainable run and one Harmony really did fully bottom out, this would actually be a major potential entry, because wave one was huge, right? Wave one went up God knows how much. Went up probably like 55%. Pretty much exactly 55%. What is it? 55.8%. So I was pretty close. So it went up exactly 55% more or less. So now look at this, just so I can show you the potential I'm looking at. This has been a long, very, very, very deep dump and return to substantially below the original low, if I remember. Yeah, the original low when it first dipped was like 1090. It went substantially lower than that. So imagine if this really is the bottom for this shitcoin that got dumped to high heaven, right? If we were to enter right here, it could be massive. So I'm willing to take some risk on this, because this really could be huge. If wave one, if this was a huge wave one, that could potentially mean that if that's 55% run, we could see almost 100% run just on wave three. So let me show you what I would anticipate. If wave three is more often than not a 1618 extension of wave one, it's not always the case. We know that. But it certainly has happened many, many times before, and it is statistically the most common target. That would mean if we were to enter right here, that wave 3 target would be about another 60%. Obviously, we're up a little bit from bottom, but another 60%. So if you were to add in this 30 or so, it's roughly 100% after the wave 2 retrace. So it would look like this. Something like that. So if we enter and time it well, we could potentially... Now again, since there's such a huge potential payout, if this really does hold and this is sustainable, just do a subwave count just to show you. I don't like to go like the subwaves of the subwaves, like this is wave 1. Well, now let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on wave 1, and now let's zoom in and look at the first one. That's insane, right? But I like to go down a couple levels just to make sure the logic fits. So in this case, this would be wave 1. We just finished wave 2, and now we're in subwave 3, right? So just to get like a rough idea, if wave 1 here, if we got a 1618 extension of that too, then wave 3 can run all the way up to like 1559 before we actually see a significant correction again, something like that. And we may not even push all the way up to that target, but for now, just to show you, what I'm thinking, if this subwave count went to a 1618 extension of wave 1, that by itself is amazing. That could be a 35% move from where we are right now. So the only issue I'm seeing here that I'm reluctant about, and this is why I want to caution you guys about the whole risk thing, right? When I say this is a high-risk trade, what I'm essentially saying is, guys, don't just follow me blindly here. I might take a loss on this trade. I can afford to lose on some trades because the trades I win on, as you guys know, go up 12, 15, 20, 30% a lot of the time. If you guys aren't able to take that risk, I wouldn't feel comfortable with you guys getting into a trade and risking like 6% on a trade just because I can afford to do it. If it's a high-risk trade, it might not be for you. That being said, in this case, I would really only want to enter if I could place my stop loss below the triple EMAs. So the 222, the 99, and the 55 are still riding together. I have a feeling if we were to dip, we would bounce pretty much right off of there. So the only issue is if I were to enter right now to really get my stop loss down here below all 3 EMAs, I would probably have to open myself up to like a little over 4% risk. Because I showed you on some of the other trades, I'll point out a few more of them, but I got stopped out with like a tiny little wick, and it sucks. So if you can give yourself a little extra room, we'll get to link next. That would be ideal. So if I can give myself a little room below the EMAs, maybe around 1111, maybe a little further, like 1107, that would be like 4.5% risk. That's entering here. So we might push up here. I think we'll probably come down a little bit more. What happens sometimes is, like I did with the 1, I showed you my 1 trade, original 1 trade, when I was waiting for it to come back down and it didn't. I kind of missed out. I don't want that to happen here. So what I'm thinking is I might place an order down here right where that 618 fib retracement is, right here at 1137. I might place an entry order right on that. And if it does go all the way down there, it'll fill another bag, and then that bag, I can set my stop loss at like 2.2% below my entry, because that'll still get all 3 of those EMAs right in the red zone, right in that stop loss range between my entry and my stop loss down here. I would only have to risk 2% and change. So I'm probably going to set an order to buy here if it dips a little bit lower so it fills right around there. But since I don't want to potentially miss out on this, like really completely miss out like I did on the last entry, I think I'm just going to buy at the current price right here and just eat the cost and just accept I got to take a little over 4% or, about 4% risk to get in right there. So I'm going to buy right now on the stream with you. I'm going to buy... Well, let me see how the order book looks. I might not. But yeah, let me set a couple orders. I'll probably set the orders a little bit further down just because it's probably going to dip slightly more. And then I'll place another order lower that's closer to right at that 618. Because we can see we did get a bunch of candles bouncing right off of that 618 retracement at 1137. See that? It's hard to see because I know it's not zoomed in too far. I don't want to go too crazy with the zoom, but... So right here, a solid candle wick bounced right off of that 618, and a solid candle bounced right off of that 618, this wick. So that certainly could be a good target to enter if it dips down further. you can see we're actually dipping down a little bit here. So let me hurry up and get this done. I'm going to place, oh, see, this might actually be good because now I can get in a little bit cheaper, lower my risk a little bit. All right, I think I'm just going to do this one order then. All right, so maybe about 11:45 or so. If I do it at 11:45 plus or minus a couple sats, not sats because it's tether, but still. All right, good. It's come down far enough that I can get in with about 3% risk and still have all 3 EMAs. I would love to have the bottom of the cloud in my SL range, but that would be 5% risk. That's a little nuts. So, all right, I'm going to do this before I miss my chance. So I'm going to risk just about 3%, give me a little bit of breathing room. Entry at about 11:45, stop loss at about 11:10, although my entry is going to be at least a few digits off on both. So let me get that done, and then we will proceed. Where's my vape? All right. Okay, yeah, we'll be good. All right, all set. So at this point, I could actually share this with, may as well. I think to go over all of the overall market cap, total to and total, with and without BTC and the altcoin market cap, that's a larger fundamental discussion. That's not something where it's like technicals where we have to look at a chart right now because we need to know if we're going to see a breakout. So we can cover that in the next stream. I'm back. I'm going to be doing a lot of streams just like I used to. I'm going back to just doing all this stuff full time with you guys instead of just sharing my trades with you. I'm going to be doing regular streams, a ton of Vader University content, all the educational stuff, newer members that went back and watched all my old Vader University stuff. We're going to do new videos on all those same topics. I'm going to be much more busy. So yeah, we'll probably do that tomorrow or something because the babies are going to wake up pretty soon. So I find they're sleeping better now, right? But the problem is that like every single night, there's 2 times a night where they start crying, they start flailing around, throw their pacifier out of their crib, and then they won't shut up unless they get it back. And I only have like 3 minutes. When they wake up and start crying, if I don't have that pacifier in their mouth in 3 minutes, if I do, they go right back to sleep. If I don't, it's a whole fucking thing. I got to get them some water, and then if they keep fighting me on the water, I have to give them just like an ounce or two of formula to trick them. It's ridiculous. So anyway, that's happening pretty soon. It's always between 12 and 1:30. So yeah, we can do a larger macro view of overall market and BTC, looking at total market cap, potential alt season scenarios. We can go over that stuff on a dedicated stream. I'd love to talk about that shit. And I actually recorded a short 3 commas stream that I was supposed to put up for you guys when I was still away for that wedding in the Hamptons. And I don't know. It might have gotten corrupted. I can't fucking find it. Oh, that's funny. BitKernels is a twin. Did I know that? I don't think you told me that. But yeah, I don't know what happened to that recorded 3 commas video. So I'm going to do a new one, or we'll just do a live stream like I originally planned on doing with you guys anyway. But there's even some of the features I'm not sure about. I'm by no means an expert with 3 commas, but they have a really good resource, which is their YouTube channel where they have instructions on how to do everything. What I'll probably do is I'll do a live stream, go over all the stuff that I use on it, and then maybe together we could actually watch some of those videos and discuss it in real time. That would be a good way to digest it. And that way we can discuss, ask each other questions, brainstorm, all that shit. All right, so back to it. Imagine, see how we just dipped down to a couple of my orders filled, actually. I have one more that hasn't filled. But imagine, like, almost to the wick. Imagine if we just run up from here. That would be insane. And that just goes to show you having these precise support and resistance levels go a long way. still. We'll see what happens here. I think we might dip down a little further, but those EMAs are there to protect my ass, so I'm happy with that. Now, yeah, let's go back to Link. All right, so Matic's still holding. Algo did come back down, so it's a good thing I didn't jump back in. Now, we are sitting right on the top of the cloud in the 99. What do you guys think? I'm thinking this might actually be a time to just buy some more Algo right here. Because we are right where I originally was when I feel like I missed out. Right on the 99 EMA and the top of the cloud. This is exactly what I called on Matic. Look at Matic. We came down, we hit just at the top of the cloud, and then started going up, except in this case, on Algo, we actually have the 99 EMA right there as well. What I'm going to do, I'm going to enter in a trade if I can get it done after I explain it. I'm only risking like a little over 1%. I'll probably risk like 1.25, 1.2%. I'm going to buy right here and have a really small risk of only 1 and change, because if we were to come down and stop me out, the chances of getting a wick down to that level and then going back up are pretty small. More likely if we break below the 99 EMA and below the top of the cloud and I get stopped out and lose my 1.2%, if that happens, chances are we're going to go down to the bottom of the cloud. So I would have another chance to enter even lower, which would actually be a profitable trade. Getting stopped out could actually end up being profitable because I would take a 1.26% loss, but it's essentially as if I bought in lower, so that loss just eats itself. So, all right, let me place an order right here. We are dipping slightly. We're at 791 right now. I'm probably going to buy right around there, plus or minus a couple ticks. So let me do that. And I'll share that in the group as I'm doing it. I'm placing this in 3 commas, actually. Okay, so... Alright, I could actually get in a tiny bit lower. Shit. My first order pushed the price back up. I have to divide up my orders into a bunch of different ones. It's a pain, but it's the only way to do it without taking a loss, buying market buys. Alright, I should be okay. Between 795 and 792. 790 actually. 794 and 790. Between that range, I have a few orders that should fill, so I think I'll be okay. Alright, since we have limited time, because the kids are going to start barking soon. Man, it's good to be back. I love streaming with you guys. I hate that. It's just, I was so busy, and the market was shitty, and I didn't feel like I had that many good trades. So I didn't really want to... I was sharing all my trades with you, but I didn't really want to do any streams like this. But now that I'm getting a lot of confidence in our model... I mean, look at this. Look, another instance. The 99 EMA and the top of the cloud. Major support. And that's all my Ichima model. 55, 99, 222 EMAs, top and the bottom of the cloud on the hourly chart. That's like all I fucking use. Obviously, I also do Fibonacci, Elliott Wave, and horizontal supports, but look at all the examples we just covered together. Like, look at this chart. Look at Matic. Look at One. Like, all these charts are just killing it with the Ichima supports, man. It's so awesome. I love seeing that. Look at this. The bottom. We went over this. The bottom of the cloud on One when I wish I had gotten in there. Instead, I got in here. Did I share that trade, actually, in the group? Medium risk entry on One, on Algo, and what else? Matic, everybody already knows about. That's doing well. Quantum is holding so far. Still at the 55 EMA is holding. Now, my XLM trade, if you guys remember, I said this is a Coinbase Pro trade. I just charted it on the Tether, on the Binance version. It's the exact same price, and then the charts are almost identical. So I was like, shit, I didn't use the Coinbase Pro, the Coinbase chart. I used the Binance chart, but I wasn't going to go and start a new chart or whatever, because I don't really have much on this anyway. It was like, it's just stupid to do that. Now, this was a much smarter stop loss. I was a lot more conservative. I only locked in 4.5%. And this way, by keeping it here, I have the top of the cloud, which obviously is a strong support. The 222 is just a good support. It held several candles in a row. Now we're pushing down further. The top of the cloud is doing a great job right now. Another example of our Ichima supports, right? And if we do come down, we have the 99 and the 55 EMA converging right here, could be a really strong support zone. And if it still breaks past that, I will probably get stopped out anyway. So it might make sense to move my stop loss up a little bit closer to the EMAs, because if they do fail, chances are, again, once you break the top of the cloud, unless you find a really strong support in the middle of it, most of the time you drop all the way to the other side of the cloud. And then that's another strong support, and you could bounce off of that like we looked at on some of the other examples. So if I move my stop loss up there, I will officially have roughly 5.5% profit locked in on this trade. And I'm up a total of 7.5%. So I'd be giving up 2%. I'm going to do that. This is going to be 5%. You guys can get into trades and do stuff with me on the spot, but I wait until all my orders are filled before I share it with the group in Discord. Obviously, you guys know because you're doing this with me. So let me get my order going, and then I'll tell everybody else. Should be good there. All right, so I'm good. I'm covered. So we'll share my new stop loss. Oh, that wasn't even a new entry. I could have just shared that right away. But if you guys are expired, check on the website. There were actually several people expired, and I asked them if they wanted to stay in the group, and they said, well, you haven't really been as active lately and haven't been streaming much, so I don't know. I figured I would talk to you about it. And I'm like, well, what about my trades lately? And they said, well, that's good. I haven't gotten into a lot of them. So that was, 2 days ago? And obviously in the last day and a half, 4 or 5 people have said, all right, I'll stay, just because I had good trades. Forget about the fact that I'm going back to my normal schedule with more streaming and shit, but and more educational content. Just the last few trades on Matic and stuff have made people some money, as well as Algo. Even Link. Link was a solid move up. That was great today. Where is... Oh, no, that's the BTC chart. I switched to... We'll get to that in a minute. Where was Link? I wanted to move on to Link. All right, so yeah, pushed up, came back down. Another reason why I don't move up my supports too aggressively, my stop loss too aggressively. My stop loss here was obviously below the top of the cloud and all 3 EMAs. But then we came back down and tested right at the top of the cloud. God damn it. I hate when that happens. All right, so here you can see that green candle came down. Look where that wick bounced right off of the cloud, the top of the cloud. Look how strong of a resistance the top of the cloud was over here, right? It took a while to break through. So I really like each of my supports on a Link as well, just like we've been seeing on the other charts. Now, in this instance, all 3 EMAs are bunched together. So that's a really strong support zone. It's right below the original entry. I don't want to get too hyper aggressive and move my stop loss up to my entry, because as you can see, it is possible that you can get a quick little wick like that would stop you out. So I'm going to leave my stop loss where it is for right now on this Link entry. But I do really like what I'm seeing. And for the record, Link has a lot of strong potential short term, or medium term over the next few weeks. So I definitely don't want to get stopped out of Link if I can avoid it. I'm going to try to keep my stop loss a little bit lower and make sure I stay on top of things. All right, what else was there that I wanted to take a look at? Again, we looked at, that was the other trade that had originally broken out really well before getting super rejection right from the 222, 8.4 breakout. So yeah, Quantum I still like right here. It looks like the 55 EMA is still holding, so I'm definitely liking what we're seeing here. we are getting support right where we need it, and worst case, we do have a pretty good horizontal support right here that has a last chance ditch effort to protect us right where the bottom of the cloud is. So we'll see how that plays out. By the time I wake up, I think we're either going to break out on Link and go push up another 10-12%, or I think I'm going to be stopped out, one or the other. Over the next 4 or 5 hours, we're probably going to see either a stop out or a breakout. So again, XLM we talked about, that was on Coinbase Pro. That's been doing really well. We have good support here. We covered that. The algo situation, we're coming down a little bit. It's still sitting right at the top of the cloud. We still got the support, but again, I have a very, very tiny risk here with that 1.2%. So let's see. It looks like, I mean, if that's a full ABC, right, that's a correction. So you certainly can see an ABC here. It's kind of messy just because algo is a pretty messy chart, just the nature of how it trades with big, volume spikes and then dumps. How would I count a subwave on that? It doesn't really matter, but I'm just curious. There's actually that horizontal support right here kind of matches up with where that wave 1 is. Where's the top of that wick? It's right here. So yeah, I mean, right here would be perfect. If this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, finishes out the subwave 3, right? Just to show you. I don't know if this is necessarily right, and we are getting really close. If we drop any further, it would invalidate this count, but just to show you what I'm thinking is, since we have 1, 2, 3, is it possible that it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5 would take us up? Is that just a subwave, and that original extension is wrong? Now this would work, 1, 2, 3, because wave 4 doesn't really retrace into wave 1 territory. It is like a tiny bit by like a tiny bit of the wick, but this still works right now. If we come down and stop me out of this 1.2% risk trade I just got into, if I get stopped out on that, I would say at that point we've retraced too far where this would no longer be a valid count, because wave 4 can actually drop down below the end of wave 1. Right here it's at the same level, so I'm fine with that, but any further it's going to invalidate that count. So until I can figure out what's going on either way, I'm going to consider this to be a valid count at this point, and then we can make adjustments to it later. See what happens here. Let me just set an alert because I don't want to have to keep bouncing back and forth. So yeah, we're dipping down pretty far on that wick. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay in this trade. We'll find out. If I get stopped out, I'll get a notification. All right, that's it. It's midnight and the kids will be up soon, and I'm going to have to get some sleep. It looks like my one entry, look, that candle did hold, and we're back on a new candle now. We just started a new hourly candle. If we push up here, that's going to be a pretty amazing entry. Let's see. Come on. It's like watching paint dry, watching an hourly candle, because you don't know what's happening at a lower level. If I get stopped out of this trade, it is what it is. There's so much potential on one. I'm happy to take on the extra risk. It's just such a huge potential run there if it really does happen like that. Come on. All right, so yeah, that's it as far as what I wanted to go over. Oh, look, the 55 held on Quantum. We got a new candle here. We could push up. That would be really great if that ends up being fitting, this model too. Same thing. If that is the case and we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, that wave 4 is pretty much right at that level of the end of wave 1. So it's not invalidated. It's perfect. It's exactly, it goes exactly with the Elliott wave model. And then BNB, we're up on my later entry here. A couple percent. Obviously, I'm not going to adjust my stop loss now, but again, we got a lot of support from the top of the cloud. We have the EMAs right here. The 222 is actually within my SL range here, so I have almost 3% at risk. The reason I did that, instead of putting my stop loss right here below the cloud and only risking like 1.5 7%, is because I really wanted to get that 222 EMA in my SL range right here. Because you can see right around that level was a really strong support here. And if you go back, there were some periods where the 222, look at this, major resistance. Big pumps getting completely shot down by the 222. A big pump attempt, completely shot down by the 222. Right here, tried to push up, rejected by the 222. Major support from the 222 right there. So you can see the 222 has a lot of power in these situations. Since it's so far away from the other EMAs, a lot of the time you want to place your stop loss here because these EMAs are close. But if you can afford to take a little extra risk and get your stop loss below the 222, that's always going to be a really strong dynamic support. So I'm going to touch base later tonight. When I go to sleep, which is going to be pretty soon, I'm going to go rock the kids back to sleep and go to sleep. Before I do that, if there have been any big changes on any of our trades, I'll post an update in Discord. Since I only have a few more minutes, anybody have any questions right now? It could be anything you want, but since this has been mostly a charting stream, I'll take anything. If you want me to look at another coin, I could do that. And if you wanted to talk about some, TA concept or something, I can do that. Oh, shit. Yeah. Winnie's right. He showed up finally. We were going to look at KMD. And then somebody actually asked me to look at something else, but I don't remember what it was. So I'm probably going to have to get back to him on it tomorrow. Maybe I can find what it was. Maybe it was in a... hold on. I'm going to try to search for it. What is it that he said to me? He said, I will be asleep. I'm in Dubai, I think. Let me search for the word Dubai. Yep, Wakas Jad. Local people in Dubai. That was him, though. That's what it was, rather. So I'll do from... What the hell? Oh, don't tell me. I hate when Discord does this. He said, can you look at LTC, BCH, ABC, and ETH with BTC pairings? That's going to be too much. I'll probably look at like one of them. So, all right. So KMD really quick. Again, I'm loving this setup that Winnie spotted. For those who didn't notice, Winnie had mentioned it in the main chat. And check this out. We've had some really amazing KMD trades before. I know some of you guys are newer members, but especially some of the older members who were here for that. I mean, we had some major pumps on this baby over the last, well, really, probably like 10 months at this point. But yeah, we had several of these really big pumps that we got into with some amazing trades, 50, 60, 70% gains on some of these trades. It was pretty awesome. So it looks like we've been correcting for so goddamn long on this thing. It's got to be really low. Let me see. Let me just take more of a macro view. So that is an all-time low, it looks like, right? Yeah. I was charting that thing a year ago. So this has been one massive continued correction. It's a really big combo wave. It's actually a pretty big head and shoulders. Kind of see that, and then a push down. It's really hard to say if there's any potential for like a big extended bounce, because this pretty much has just been continuing indefinitely for the last 8 months or whatever says 6 months. But these moves, when it does go on a run, that was 89%. After that correction, that was another 100%. Even this one, this is like a pretty small bounce. That was over 20 days, and it was a 65% move. Even this one, again, another small one. That was over a week and a half, and it went up 93%. So, if you can catch those moves, you can make a shit ton of money. And this is what I wanted to show you, what I noticed after Winnie asked me to look at it. We had a lot of great support and resistance in this range back when we were trading it. But look what happens. We go on a huge dump, right? We get majorly oversold here, right? So we're looking at an RSI sub 15. And if you look over here, it doesn't actually get that low that often. That requires a pretty big, consistent dumping, right, to get that low. It does get oversold, and sometimes that causes a little bit, of a pump action. But yeah, you can see how low it was here. It was extremely low. Now we've continued to go down. Talk about bullish divergence. I mean, we're pulling up after that huge dump right here, another huge dump to an all-time low. And now the only other time that we've seen recently that we've seen the RSI that low was right here. And look what ended up happening. It did another 92.6% pump in 2 weeks, in 15 days, potentially make 100% return on your investment. So obviously that could be pretty amazing. So let's the Bittrex chart. Oh, fuck you, dude. It's the same shit. Switch into a whole new chart. So now let's look at it at the hourly again. And you can see what I like about the EMAs here, at least. Now over here, we made a few attempts to push up, and we would consistently just barely wick, if anything. Like over here, got a little bit above the 55 EMA, back down. Over here, a wick above the 55. Over here, a couple candles. Over here, a couple wicks above the 55. And the last time we had really broken through was when they were all together like that. And on that instance right here, even this was already, that was by itself a 20% pump. So again, once you do get above the EMAs, you can get a strong little move. This was one of the big ones. This was like a 95% one we looked up, or 36. Oh no, this was the big one from the bottom to the top. But you can see that the EMAs have been doing a pretty good job of providing support and resistance. So this entire period where you have the 55 giving us a lot of rejections, we finally start breaking above the 55 more consistently right here, where we're actually holding for 15, 20 candles in a row. And we're starting to see the EMAs converge. We've talked about this a lot. When the EMAs are converging like that and getting to the point where they're about to, connect and cross over, it's usually a really strong sign that we could get a potential short-term run. Now, we also see the principle that I told you about with the cloud. Rejection at the bottom of the cloud. A lot of rejections at the bottom of the cloud. We finally break in. What happens? Move to the other side of the cloud, get rejected again, and come back down. What did I say before? When you bounce between the bottom and the top of the cloud, because those are both really strong support and resistance. So if you hit the top and reject, you'll hit the bottom and bounce up. Eventually, you're either going to break through the bottom or bust through the top, and that's going to be a dump or a pump, right? Now, in this instance, what I said before on that other example I showed you, I said usually when you hit the one side of the cloud or you break into the cloud, you proceed all the way to the other side unless you find a really strong support range in the middle. That does happen sometimes. And in this case, we have a perfect example of that. Two of our EMAs, the 55 and the 99, and look what's happening. We got rejected we had a lot of rejections from one of our Ichima dynamics, the bottom of the cloud. We pushed through, came back and tested the bottom of the cloud again, tested the top of the cloud, got rejected, came down, and now we're wedged between our other two main supports. So you can't say that Ichima is bullshit, because, I mean, look at this. This is insane. Every chart, there's all this relevant data that just points to how strong of a model it is. So we're just kind of bouncing back and forth between our two primary EMA supports, right? The 55 and the 99 EMA. So from here, either we break down and break through the bottom and correct much further, or if we do break up, I have a feeling the next push up will break through the cloud. So the fact that our EMAs are converging right here and we're between them, the price is kind of bouncing back and forth between the 55 and the 99, means that if we do get a breakout in either direction, it could be significant, especially since we already tested both the bottom and the top of the cloud. If this is a continued move up, that would mean that this move, the original move off the bottom, was wave 1. This would be wave 2. That means the next wave 3 could be 161.8% of this, which would essentially be, let's see, what price would that put it at? Hold on. That would be all the way at 877 sats. So from right here, nice 18% run. And obviously you've seen this has done a lot of 90% run, so it's certainly possible. So, all right, what did he say? Oh, he's saying to use the Bittrex chart because it is right on a major all-time support and not at an all-time low, because Bittrex had KMD before Binance. So if you actually use the Bittrex data, you can go back further. I've talked about that in a bunch of Vader University streams, but if you guys weren't here for those and don't remember, I talk about how it's important that you trade on the chart that you're working on. So if you're going to be trading with Binance, you should use the Binance chart. And I've discussed the one exception to that rule is if you don't have sufficient data. If you can't properly model KMD, because KMD has only been on, let's look at the daily. So yeah, according to KMD, or to Binance, KMD was listed November 2017, so that's an all-time low. Winnie's saying that it actually is an all-time low because it started lower. So maybe KMD load started earlier in 2017. Let me pull it up. KMD BTC on Bittrex. Let's see if he's right. Okay, he is right. So this goes back to way earlier in 2017. It wasn't actually added until the end of 2017 when it was all the way up here or so. So this actually is helpful. Wow, I like that. I didn't even notice this. So when you look at it at that much of a macro level, you see what type of support you're actually working with, which is pretty much the all-time low. It's right back at almost exactly the all-time low. All-time low would be right there, which puts us we're like a little under 20% above the all-time low. That makes it a little bit of a tougher call because what I would love to see is to actually enter right on that all-time low, but it looks like it's going to be difficult to do. That's a full 20%. These are daily candles, so it's pretty hard to see because when you're looking at the daily, there's so much data included within a much smaller space that what ends up happening is when you see this candle, this one red candle, you don't realize, but that's actually a 10% candle. So it's a little bit tougher. I really do like how it's looking for a short-term potential move on the hourly. And the other thing, since we're talking about RSI before, check this out. The last time the RSI was overbought on the daily, we proceeded to get an 83.67% pump. And look where we are again oversold on the RSI. The other time before that the RSI was oversold was right here, and that ended up in, at least the first wave before it corrected, 95%. And then before this, the last time we were oversold was in this range. Now back then, it looks like we never got a really strong pump when we were that oversold. We did a couple. We got some smaller ones like this one, which is still, well, that's 50%. Again, this is the daily chart, right? So each of these candles represents a huge amount of data. So yeah, it actually is still a significant move, but not as significant as these other instances more recently over the last 6, 7, 8 months, where you can see every time it gets oversold, we get a solid move like this one again. What was that? I said 80-something%. Hold on, 84%. And again, more recently, right here. So for that reason, I like it for a longer term trade. Now, shorter term is what I'm more worried about right now. I want to make sure that I'm getting in and I'm managing my risk well. Since we're sitting right between the EMAs, I'm pretty confident that I could actually get into a trade here and manage my risk pretty well. Now, Winnie, there's actually a lot less data on Bittrex, but it goes back further. So hopefully that's what you meant. Like if you look more recently over here, you don't see quite the variations. And you can tell this is a very spotty chart with a lot of gaps. The only time you see those gaps is when you're dealing with futures and it's a manual manipulation, or in this instance, when there's just not enough volume. So one bigger order immediately jumps the order book. I actually sent you guys, I think, or somebody in the group, I sent an Investopedia about gaps. It's really interesting to learn about the different types. But in this case, since we're looking at short term now, we've established on the Bittrex chart that this could be a potential big starting point for a longer term run. But I'm more interested in the more shorter term. Can I efficiently and effectively control my risk? And I think I can, since we're between our major Ichima dynamics with the 55 and the 99, and since even a short-term move would represent an 18% gain, I think it's worth getting into a trade here, and it looks like I can get pretty low risk. If I were to enter right here while we're still between the two EMAs, I could get the bottom of the cloud over here. Then I'm over 3%. I could keep it at a 3% risk, and while while we're right here, realistically, if we started moving down, it would probably take a few candles before it got down to the bottom of the cloud, so it kind of would be included here, but that's cutting it too close. If I set my SL here, that's going to be a little too close. That's a tough call. I really want to get in cheaper. Like, I would love for it to bounce off of the 55 EMA here again, because then I can set my SL for 3%, and I get the whole bottom of the cloud here within my stop loss range, right, within the red zone. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to pull that off, though, entering right here. If I were to enter right here, I'd have to open myself up to 3.5%, almost 4% risk to get that same level of protection with the bottom of the cloud. It's tough. It's a hard decision. I don't want to miss out on a potential move, but we certainly could see the continued correction to the bottom of the cloud before we bounce. I could do a similar low risk approach where I only risk 1.6%, buy right here, set my SL here, and then if that stops me out, I know that most likely it's going to bounce at the bottom of the cloud, so I put my new order to buy right at the bottom of the cloud. That is one potential play. That's sort of like what I just did. I showed you guys on, which one was that, on 1, was it? Hold on. No, I think it was Algo. Algo is where I'm only risking 1.2%. And look, guys, check this out. It actually held so far. We're on to the next candle, and miraculously did hold. If we can push up here, this will go down in the history books as another kick-ass example of Ichima doing a fucking work, man. Doing her work. Because we're right on the top of the cloud still. It looks like my plan is holding so far. And again, if I do get stopped out, I'm fine. I'm only risking 1.25%. It's a very, very tiny amount of money. $126 on a $10,000 trade. If that does happen and I do get this alert and I get stopped out, I will know that I could probably buy in all the way down here because I'd have the highest probability target for the resumption of that correction would be the bottom of the cloud. Worst case, the 222. So if I set my buy order here at the bottom of the cloud, my stop loss goes 2.3% below that. So I have the 222 EMA also there to cover my ass in case the bottom of the cloud does break slightly and we get a little wick down. Anyway, so that's what I'm thinking on KMD as well. So again, do I get in right now? This is a tough call. What do you guys think? Anybody have an opinion? And while you're telling me what you think about that, let me just take a look at like at least one of the coins that he had suggested. LTC, well, LTC's having some issues, but so if I'm ignoring some of the news and like FUD about LTC, I would say that this is a pretty nice specimen, right? You guys already know what I'm going to say. Look at that. 55 EMA. Ichima resistance. Dumped right off of that. Massive rejection. Rejected again from the 55. Found some rejection. Next candle, we finally start again, and we're supporting now from the 55. Then we ride the 99 this entire time, start building a little bit above the 99, and then look where we get rejected. Exactly at the 222 EMA. 5 hourly candles in a row, completely getting rejected to the high heavens from the 222 EMA. That's awesome. And then look where we get the support on the way back down. Top of the cloud with one wick bouncing off the 55 and the 99. Come on, how fucking ridiculous is that? Man, I love those Ichima support and resistances. They're kick-ass. Now, we've been correcting for quite a while on Litecoin. This has been a solid dump on the BTC pairing. 30% over the last week. We're seeing the converging EMAs. And and that's happening early in the process. So a lot of the time, like here, the EMAs were so far and diverged so much that by the time they crossed over, it was already like 50% of the way up on this run. But here, it's actually pretty early. Like, look what happened here. We weren't deviating that far, right, off the standard deviation. So we were right. We weren't that many standard deviations off the mean. So we were able to enter. If you were to enter when you did see the crossover, that would have been here, and there was a solid move from there. You could have made 15%. I wouldn't have held it that long. Realistically, I would have been stopped out because that would have been like 15% the first night. I probably would have gotten stopped out with like 10% profit within a day. But yeah, this is potentially a good starting point for a move up. We also have, I'm not really big on inverted head and shoulders. I've talked about that with you guys a lot. I think head and shoulders, not just inverted, but just overall head and shoulders are kind of stupid. But, you know, it's there. So I'll note, I'll mention it, even though I don't really consider it too valid of a modeling tool. But yeah, I do like this as a potential entry. I have to admit, we're also seeing the cloud start to turn green, which means essentially that the algorithm that drives the indicator that is Ichimoku cloud also anticipates a potential upward move, a reversal of the trend, essentially. That's why you get that corkscrew crossover. We have the converging EMAs, strong resistance from the 222. If that 222 breaks, it's going to become a really strong support. Look at this. I just spotted that. We started to poke through here, and look where we got rejected, the 222. 222 is a beast, guys. Like, it's going to be tough. The only difference here is instead of the 222 being a major resistance in the middle of the cloud, it's actually above the cloud here. And that's the first time we've had the price up in this area with the 222 outside of the cloud. Otherwise, we could have gotten rejected within the cloud and shot straight back down, which is what you normally see. Now that we're outside and above the cloud, when's the last time we were above the cloud? It was over here when we were still green. So this could actually be the reversal. It looks like this was a fake out. That was probably a bull trap. Somebody probably got wrecked getting in there before it continued to dump. But right here, it actually could be sustainable. Instead of being a quick pump like that, it's a little bit more drawn out. The volume is even though there's a couple waves and troughs. The volume's still regularly right around the same level if you go back, so it's nothing like, it's not extremely low or extremely high, but it has been consistently green. We are seeing a lot of buy power here, and that's why the price has gone up. So given the amount of support we have, I don't usually trade any of the majors against BTC. But since I'm liking this chart so much, I think I can do it. I can make this trade with about 2% risk. And this is probably the first time in a while I've traded one of the majors against Bitcoin, because I'm always trading them against USDT. Now, I am considering it. I would enter right here. My stop loss would be limited to the top of the cloud and the two EMAs, so it would be right around 2%. And a potential target, if this is a continued run, right, you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then this little subwave correction means that's wave 1. And if that's wave 1, I should be able to pull this off my hand. If this is a wave 1 here, and that's the subwave correction, we should be able to see wave 3 taking us all the way up to like 9,400 sats. Let me double check that and see if that's right around where the 1618 is. Should be pretty close. So 9,300. I was 100 sats off. Sorry, I suck at this. So yeah, this could be a potential solid move if it's sustainable, if it isn't just a fake out. The only reason why I don't think it's a fake out, I already talked about it. We're back above the cloud, which hasn't happened in a while. The 222 EMA serving as a resistance is now outside of the cloud, so we don't have multiple resistances to get through within the cloud. So I think there's certainly a lot of potential here. You can make 20% on this move. The fact that I can limit my risk to only 2% makes it about a 10-to-1 risk-to-reward ratio. So my RR here would be pretty much 10. 20% gain, 2% risk. That's a 10-to-1 bet. So I think it's actually worth it, especially since I don't think BTC is going to dump. I think BTC is going to finish pushing up back to just shy of 12K. And then either we move up from there or we drop from there. But I think before we do anything, we're going to see a green candle that matches up against this red one that pushes us right back up to its starting point. Kind of an inverted BART. I think that's going to happen. We've seen that a lot, especially since the EMAs just started to cross over. but we don't see any strong divergence because we're not continuing a downward trend. We're actually holding pretty strong. I got stopped out. I had part of my trade in here only had 2% risk, so like half of my entire Bitcoin position got stopped out back into USD. So I got to figure out what to put some of that money back into. But I still have a good size BTC position here because my stop loss was a little lower. All right, that's that. What do you guys think about KMD though? You think I should do that? Oh, you know what? Hold on. I'm an idiot. I was talking about this trade and how I was actually going to do it, and then I haven't actually done it. All right, so yeah, I am going to pull the trigger on this, but I'm not putting a huge amount in since I got stopped out on half of my Bitcoin. What I'm actually going to do here, since I have a lot of USD in my account, I'm going to buy LTC with cash, with USDT, or with USD because it's in Coinbase Pro. Then I will set my stop loss with the BTC pairing, and I'm going to use this chart for the trade. I'm just entering it and I'm buying it and filling my bag of LTC using USD. Then I will set my stop loss on the LTC BTC pairing. Oh shit, no, this would be on Binance and that's on Coinbase Pro where I have all that cash. All right, never mind. I'm going to use the Bitcoin that I actually have on Binance and do it there. But you could theoretically do the same thing on Coinbase Pro. But I am doing it on Binance. I'm going to use the actual Bitcoin that's in my Binance account to purchase this, and I'm going to make the trade on this. Now, since I usually only trade those major currencies against USDT, I don't want to take out too much of a position here. So instead of putting in a pretty large amount, I'll probably keep it to just several $1,000s. I don't want to go too crazy with it because there is some risk involved. If we do see everything dump overnight while I'm asleep, even if I get stopped out for a 2% loss, if I then have $15,000 go into BTC and BTC drops 12% overnight, I will be very, very hurt and I will be fucking pissed. So I don't want to put too much into it. I'm still going to set an alert, so if my phone goes off, I usually wake up and I can react quickly. But since there is a risk there, I'm not going to take too big of a position. But regardless, I'm getting in. Let me, I'll post it to the group, but let me finish placing this order first. And then you guys tell me if you think I should get into KMD. I still can't decide. Excuse me. Okay, let me get you done. All right. Share that with everybody else. Oh, so for those who were confused, I forgot. I did show you this BTC, sorry, the BNB trade that I'm already in. For those who aren't in the premium group, I actually only shared that with the premium group, and this stream's open to the basic group too. So you wouldn't have known what I was talking about, but that BNB entry, I shared it in the premium only chat on, or the premium only Vader's posts in Discord, so you wouldn't have seen that. Since I covered it on the live stream anyway, I'll probably just, you know what, screw it. I won't post it on the, in the regular group, short-term plays. I'm just going to leave it in. But you guys can see it one more time since you're actually here. You know, you guys actually care to show up. So if you're in basic and you care to be here to support me and show up, I'm happy to share it with you. All right, looks like I might have gotten stopped out on algo after all. BNB is up slightly, but yeah, I just entered this, so I'm not going to do anything with the EMAs or with the stop loss or anything. Looks like I did get stopped out on that little algo trade, so that sucks, but it is what it is. Oh, it didn't actually stop me out yet. My stop loss is slightly below what you see on the screen, but it's only about 0.03 of a penny away from stopping me out. I don't think I'm going to walk away from this one. I'm pretty sure pretty sure it's going to keep going to the other side of the cloud at this point. So I'm going to eat the loss, 1.2%. And what I'll do is you set an alert for when we get right above the bottom of the cloud. And then I'll just pull it up on my phone real quick. And if I want to place an entry right there, I can. All right, so now I'm stopped out. I'm done on algo. If this alert triggers, then I will probably do what we talked about, set a buy order. Again, using the bottom of the cloud on the 222 EMA, I'd risk like 2.5%. And if I then get stopped out of that one as well, it is what it is. I'll take a couple losses, but obviously you guys know I'm up a ton from my original algo run, plus my MATA call. I'm doing pretty well in the last several days. I did really well on RVN. I did really well on REN. I actually still have RVN, so I had bought a bunch more right over here, and then you can see we pushed all the way up. So I believe most of my, I'd have to go check manually because I'm managing this trade manually. It's not in 3 commas or anything. I'll have to check Binance. I think I have my entire stop loss for this entire RVN entry is right here. I think. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check. So it is possible I might get stopped out, but I made a lot of money on the original move before I re-entered. So Matic is continuing up, man. That was such a great entry right here, where I doubled my position right here. I bought back with that 60%. From that point, we are now up at the top of this candle before it retraced slightly, a full 9%. That is awesome. And once we do break this 1800, that's going to be good sign. If we get back above that, I think we easily push up to finish this move, which was a 44.6% trade. I really do think we go back to this top over here and at least get the double top, and then we might come back down. But we also had this little cup and handle. Everything about this just looked great. All the Ichimoku support, I just loved this trade from my original entry and even on my newer entry right here. So I really do think this is going to keep pushing up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I definitely think that we have a realistic possibility of finishing out a 40% move from start to finish. And remember, this Matic entry only had 1.9% at risk when I got into it. Again, because I had such high confidence in having the 2 Ichimoku dynamic supports right here with the 55 and the 99. The 99 was holding so incredibly well, and I figured, you know what, if I get in here and both of the EMAs fail, I'll lose 1.9%. But if those EMAs hold, I knew that I could potentially make 20, 30, 40%. And we pretty much went straight up from that point and ended up going at one point, what was the maximum? The highest we went was 32%. So that was a really strong move. Hopefully we can see this thing push through that resistance and make the run to the full 45%. That would be absolutely incredible. CVC, I'm kind of pissed about. So I came up with this trade the other day, and I never actually shared it with you because I never got into it. I just made the chart, and I was 100% about to get in again and make this same exact trade again. I was about to do it, and whatever happens, I got busy or something, and then I was like, shit, all right, I'll look at it later, and if it still hasn't made a move. So then I came back down to my original entry. All these times in a row, let me just get rid of it, right? So all these times, so that was my original entry right here. I would have entered here. It went up, came back down. My original entry was a strong support. Went up, came back down. My original entry was a strong support. Again, I looked at it today and I was like, man, maybe I really should get into this. And I don't do it, and look what happens. Immediate single candle pump for 15%. So I missed out on that. That kind of sucks. But I knew that I had this 355 really good support here. We started pushing back above it, and I was like, you know what? That might be a good time. 2 times. So I missed out on one. I missed out on CVC. That's what happens when you have kids. I'm still doing well trading. You guys, I share all my trades with you. I lose on a bunch, but the ones that I do make money on go exceptionally well for me and for you guys. But when I have babies compared to when I didn't have babies, I'm still making money, but man, am I missing out on some trades. Because just like, if I was sitting there a few hours ago and actually saw this, I probably would have gone in. Because I said the same thing at the beginning, same thing on this bounce, and then on the third bounce, I missed it. But if I did see it, I probably would have pulled the trigger. I think that's it for all the open stuff, though. We covered everything. One is holding. Quantum hasn't really made a move. It's still holding right where we've been watching, right between the EMAs. All right, that's that. I'm not gonna do the KMD trade right now. I don't think. Oh, see, now it's pushing above the EMAs. God damn it. Now it's actually above the 99. Fuck it. All right, I'm risking 2.1% on this trade. Again, this is against BTC. I don't have. I'm not going to be safe if I get stopped out in Tether. I will actually be holding Bitcoin, so I don't like to put a lot of money into these trades. I'm not going too crazy with it. Get that done. I'm going to say I'm entering right here. I'm actually not. I'm going to set my couple orders are going to be slightly above here. I want to see if we push up from here a little bit further from the EMA, so I'm going to just buy it a little bit higher, which I'm fine with. I'm okay with paying slightly more. Well, that's just pushing up now, so I think that might have actually been one of my orders, but we'll see in a second. And then I'm also going to place another order that's down here right above the 55, because if it does come back down there, that's almost like cost averaging in. I could buy in a couple percent lower, and that would make my overall average entry price a little bit lower. So I'm going to place this because it's kind of right between the middle, and say that that is my entry. And then when my orders fill, I'll let you guys know. I'll just post and say, hey, my order, for those who are in the live stream, my orders that we talked about did fill in KMD, so I'm definitely in it with you, if you guys are even getting into it. Again, it's kind of risky because it's paired against Bitcoin, but this is another one of those scenarios like we looked at with Matic and One. If we do get this big run, it could be such a big move that you have to be willing to take some risk to get into it. If you're really, really risk averse, get into trades with me like BNB. If you wanted to get into that with me and we can ride it together, that'd be great. LTC is another good potential trade. But if you're really worried about, saving every freaking penny you can and you missed out on Matic, don't feel like you have to get in on the next trade. It's more important that you preserve your capital and you manage your risk well. You're much better off missing out on trades. Even if you miss out on 100% gain, that's fine as long as you don't lose any money, because there's always going to be another major big winner out there that you can get into. But once you lose that capital, it's gone forever. All right, any other final questions before we disconnect? Obviously, for those who are newer here, I normally leave all of my live streams up for all the premium members because they get to come to all the live streams. For basic members, you don't have access to that. But what I'll do in this particular instance, I'm going to leave it at the same link I shared. So if you go back to the announcements channel and click on the link again, you can get right back and watch this all over again if you wanted to go over any of the educational topics we discussed or any of the trades we looked at that you can use to learn from. It's going to be there forever. You can access it whenever you want, and I'll probably add it to the educational resources channel too. All right, so no other questions, right? I am in crypto chat and Discord. No questions? You guys good? 10-second warning. Winnie's busy taking a deep strap on, so taking that big black cock hard, so I think we should leave him alone. Anybody else have any questions? No? Alright. I'm gonna go to bed and not have sex with my wife. Catch you guys tomorrow. I'll let you know if there's any big changes on my trades before I pass out, though. I'll be going to sleep soon, but if you hear from me, it's probably because we had a big breakout or something like that. Alright, later.